Hey everyone, welcome back. First of all, I want to reach out and make sure that you guys know how much I appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting in to the class and to the course. I know it's difficult and it's not an easy time to kind of go through the learning process. I hope you guys are getting as much out of this as you possibly can. Remember, this is a big time hands-on learning course. I want you guys to be taking everything that we're doing in the labs, trying to incorporate that into what you guys are seeing in the PowerPoints, and then with the lecture kind of in between. I hope all of it's starting to kind of come together, and you can sort of see what motor learning means and how we implement skill classification, how we implement task orientation, how we implement the cognitive processes, the psychological processes, and now as we get into the learning process, and it's an important part to start making sure that we're putting all of these together. So the terminology that we use and the terminology that we're going to go through will start to build on each other as we define what it means to take someone through the learning process. And that's what this lab is. So the video today is about describing the lab that is up on Moodle. It's called the Bowline Knot Lab. The purpose of this lab is for you guys to learn a new skill. No better way to sort of introduce the concept of the stages of learning and the learning process, and for you guys to kind of go through the learning process yourselves. Historically and classically, and one of the things that I used to do was that when we would go through the learning process, as my phone slowly starts to slide down. One of the things that we used to do as far as having people learn a brand new skill was to have people learn how to juggle. And that's what, when I started teaching motor learning and when I learned motor learning, both in undergrad and graduate school, juggling was kind of the number one go-to for people learning how to develop a new skill. Too many people know how to do it now, so we had to go to something else. Found out that less people know how to tie knots than knew how to juggle. So this is a good way to do this. So, what you need for this lab? You need someone to go through this lab with you. So, brother, sister, mom, dad, whoever you're around, whoever you can have go through this, because it's important that you have someone else. Because what's going to happen is that I want you guys to experience the learning process in two ways. I want you guys to go through the learning process of learning this knot both as the mover. So you're going to go through a course of 40 trials, and I want you guys to try to become experts at this particular task. But I also want you guys to experience this as an observer. So I want you guys to observe the learning process. That way you can see what it's like to watch someone else go through the learning process as well. So you can see it pretty well defined. It's described very well in the lab how the process works. And this is what you guys are going to do. Over the course of 40 trials, you guys are going to go through and do trial after trial after trial of attempting to achieve this particular task, which is tying this knot successfully. And the goal with this is for you guys to identify and be able to identify the three distinct stages of learning and hopefully see what it means to progress through those three stages. Now, those three stages are the verbal cognitive stage, which is the earliest stage, the motor stage, which is the second stage where we really learn how to refine the skill and make it successful. And the third one is the autonomous stage, where as we become expert movers, we become fairly automatic at it. We've developed that motor program, and now we become very automatic at it. As my phone slides slowly down, I don't know what to do with my hands. Sorry, Talladega Nights reference. My mind works in really weird ways. You guys will see that if you haven't already. So this is what you guys are going to do. 40 trials. The main purposes of this lab is as you're going through the 40 trials, what I want you to do is to write down and take notes as you're moving and as you're going through this particular lab. And when you see characteristics that line up with the characteristics that you guys see on your lab, I want you to write those down. And the goal with this is that as you begin to progress and you know that you've moved from the verbal cognitive stage to the motor stage, those characteristics will change. So as you notice those, what are called indices of learning, I want you to jot those down. So over the course of the 40 trials, you're trying to become an expert mover and move into that autonomous stage. And even in that autonomous stage, there are several observable indices that you'll still be able to see, and I want you to still keep track of those. Now, the other thing is that as you're having your partner move through these stages of learning, then I want you to observe these things because I want you to be able to pick these up. It's easy to kind of see or to feel what these indices are, but it's more important as a practitioner, as a coach, as a teacher, as a parent to see where someone else is or how someone else is progressing through those stages of learning as well. So the goal with both sets of these is as a mover and as an observer to go through and try to see if you can recognize what those observable indices of learning are. All right, so what's the task? I'm going to show it to you. In your lab, you have instructions. You have a picture demonstration that sort of goes through and shows you what that knot looks like. You also have handwritten instructions that you can use at any time. I'm also going to show you and demonstrate how to tie this particular knot. Right now, you can use those as much as you need to, and again, that's part of the learning process as well. Is that you may be heavily reliant on those instructions and those pictures really early on in the process, but as you move through and as you progress through it, you use those less and less. You might make a mistake and then have to go back and look at the pictures again or look at the instructions and see where you messed up, but that's part of the learning process. All right, so this is what this is going to look like, and this is what you need. All you need is some sort of piece of rope. Now, this is, if you guys were doing this with us, this is what you would have, or done, if you had done this on campus, this is what you would have gotten to do that. It's a piece of nylon rope. It's a little bit thicker. It's a little bit easier to do this if you can get a hold of a thicker piece of rope like this, just because it's a little bit easier to tie the knot, but it's also easier to kind of untie the knot, and it holds up better over the course of the 40 trials and then ultimately 80 trials. So if you can get a hold of a nice thick piece of nylon rope like this, that works the best, but use whatever resources you have available to try to make this lab and make this experience the best that you possibly can. So the Bowline knot. Pretty useful knot. Hopefully you guys actually get something out of this, and this is something that you can actually use. It's used a lot for doing things like tying up boats to docks. People use it in climbing and outdoor type of things because it makes a looped knot that's very stable, very sturdy. It doesn't slip. You can make things like handholds, things to hold on to, footholds and things like that. You can do those several times, even up a longer length of rope where you can actually make footholds and actually use these to climb up if you have a long enough piece of rope. So what does this knot look like? I'll show you what it looks like. Hopefully I can do this. That way I can demonstrate that I've done this as well. So you take your rope. Now the best way to do this is to have your partner hold on to this. So again, I don't have a partner, and the camera, my phone, won't hold on to it. So you want to have them holding on to the opposite end of the rope. So think about it as if if the rope was tied up to the boat already and you were sitting on the dock, you're tying the knot on the dock side of the rope. So have your partner hold on to the end of the rope, and then you're tying the knot on your end. All right, so what this looks like is you'll start with a loop. All right, so you have your loop like this. You're going to take your end of the rope. You're going to go up through the loop, around the back side of the rope, back down through the hole. You're going to grab onto both ends of the rope and pull tight. All right, so it's demonstrated pretty well on there. It might be a little bit difficult to see. Again, now a successful knot, which I actually didn't do, I have very large hands. A successful knot is a knot that you can actually, and I could probably get my hand through if I push it hard enough, but I might not be able to get it back off. So you want to make a loop in the rope that's big enough that you can put your hand through so you could grab on to the rope. All right, so I'm going to show you again. Now that's the demonstration, and that's what I want you guys to do. Now, the only difference that I'm going to make is that for you, I'm going to give you a little bit of an extra demonstration and a visual representation of sort of what this knot looks like. That way you can use this as sort of almost like a verbal cheat, a visual cheat to be able to do that. But I don't want you to let your partner know what this cheat is. So don't say it out loud. You use it. It's part of this process is I want to give you something a little bit extra and see if you can progress through those stages of learning a little bit quicker. All right. So if we think about this rope like a big tree, all right. So the rope is a big tree. Now the opposite end of the rope is the tree. Your end of the rope that you're using to tie the knot is a bunny rabbit. All right, so your end of the rope is a bunny rabbit. So I want you guys to think about it this way. So you have the tree. At the base of the tree, you make a hole. The bunny rabbit runs up out of the hole, runs around behind the tree, runs back down through the hole, grab onto the tree, grab onto the bunny, and you pull. All right, and that gives you the knot. Nice non-slip knot. This one I actually made big enough that I can get my hand through it. I can grab on. If I were at the bottom of a ravine, I could tie this knot, put my hand through it. My buddy could pull me up to the top of the ravine. All right, so that's what this process looks like. Now, the end of the 40 trials, one of the purposes behind this is to see if you've actually gone through the learning process and got to the autonomous stage. At the end of the 40 trials, then what you'll do is that to see if we have really good what's called transfer of learning is if you can tie the knot not on your side, but on the opposite side. So now you're going to tie it in the opposite direction where you're trying to make that loop on the opposite side. So in that case, when you're doing that, have your partner hold the rope. If this is your partner's hand, have them hold the rope against your chest, and then you're tying the rope. So now you've got the tree end held against your chest, you've got the bunny end on the other end, and you're going to be tying the knot like that. All right, so this lab is up on Moodle. The PowerPoint for this chapter is up on Moodle. This lab is due a week from today, so it'll be due next Monday. So you have a week to go through this. The exam is still up there. I see some of you guys have already turned that in, which is great. That's due on Wednesday. Again, use whatever resources you have available to you to kind of go through that. Again, keep up the good work, guys. Miss having you guys around. It's not quite the same, especially since I can't stand looking at myself on these videos. You guys have no idea, just so you know, how many videos or how many times I've taken these videos, especially the ones where I'm in a classroom doing these up on the board, how many times I'll finish doing the video or record the video, go back to take a look at my phone and realize that I didn't hit that little button on the bottom of my screen that flips it around. So I've actually taken a picture of the back side of the room. Yep, that's old guy technology issues. You have no idea. You don't want to know how many times I've recorded, re-recorded these videos, but it's worth it. I'm glad that we can kind of go through this together. Big learning process for all of us. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing to keep up with all the work. Take care, stay safe, be with your families, love your families, do what you can to help others. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.